and our weekly video segment to take you into the back shelves of your local video store, back where it says horror videos, and where kids are devouring some awful films that we call the video nasties.
Are you freebasing? Inquiring minds want to know.
I have to break free from this culture of mechanical reproductions and the thick incrustations dying on the surface.
Fuck the prime time, bitch!
Monmouth in the flesh.
The pain, I can assure you, will be exquisite. As for our deaths, come with me and be immortal.
We have such sights to show you.
Gotta return some videotapes.
Hello, horror hounds, and welcome to the It Slays podcast. I'm your humble host, Rowan.
And this is Jabuki Young White's Gay Yearning Spotify playlist, Mike.
And last but not least, it's Colton.
And it's Octoberfest. This is our first entry into our lovely October season. And I figured off the bat, we just talk about how special of one it is. We brought it up last episode, but this was fan-picked by Holly P, because she decided to give us Patreon money, even though we're telling everyone don't give us any Patreon money till we figure it out next year. But she's just dedicated viewer or listener.
I love it.
But yeah, she picked the movie tonight, so I figure it's only right we start off by just saluting Holly P.
We are saluting. You can't see it. You can't hear it, but we're...
No, shout out to Holly for sure for supporting Patreon when you get absolutely nothing out of it. But hopefully she'll be supporting in the new year.
That's right. We'll make sure you get extra or something.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
And yeah, you heard, we have Colton back.
Woo!
He finally made it from the scary city of Toronto, from the TIFF Festival, which I'm sure was not as exciting as Mirror Mirror.
I listened to your guys' episode. I definitely have to watch Mirror Mirror at some point, but I don't know if it's really my bag from what I heard. So
no, it was
not at the top of my watch list.
Somehow the planets aligned for that one that you were not going to be here for it. So.
Well, it seems like you guys enjoyed it, so it made for a good discussion at least, and obviously having Jill back on the podcast is always great. So
yeah, it was definitely a fun time. So I know Colton's probably got a laundry list. He's gonna look like Rowan this episode for exactly what we're getting into. What you've been watching. So, Colton, why don't you start us off? Let us know.
Well, I did watch 26 movies at the Toronto International Film Festival, and then outside of the festival, I watched another 3 or 4 movies. So I watched 30 movies in 10 days or something. And unlike Rowan, I have a little bit of restraint, so I'm not going to just sit here and list off reviews for 30 movies. I'll mention, a couple that I really enjoyed. I'll save the bad ones, for my Twitter takes or my Letterboxd takes, which you can just seek out if you want to see that nonsense. But I don't know, probably the most fitting one to start off with is the one that won the entire festival, which it's the People's Choice Award, which every year it's voted on by obviously everyone who attends the festival. And the one that won this year was Steven Spielberg's new movie, The Fabelmans, which I was at the world premiere of. I couldn't snag tickets for their regular ticket value for the $30 or whatever, so I paid $130 for mine, something like that. To be probably 500 feet from Spielberg, I was pretty far away.
And it's the premiere, the bragging rights are worth the extra $70, honestly.
Yeah, I was on the balcony in the back, watching this movie next to a woman that was very drunk, had way too much wine. But the movie itself, it was pretty good. I mean, it's a little bit saccharine sweet. It's a little bit cheesy. The weird thing about the movie for me, that even though it's about filmmaking and about a nasty divorce during childhood and kind of semi-autobiographical of Spielberg's life himself, I didn't really feel too much when I was watching it. It didn't get me emotionally at all. As a kid who experienced the messy divorce and had a love of filmmaking, or at least a love of film, it was just weird that I didn't feel anything by it. That being said, I mean, it was good. I think it's is my second favorite of the festival overall. And when the lights went up, Finn Wolfhard was sitting like one row ahead of me and like 3 or 4 seats to the right, so I didn't feel too bad about my seats afterwards.
Yeah.
I was like, the fucking star of Stranger Things can sit one row ahead of me, you know? So that made me feel a little bit better. Next one that's probably worth mentioning is Triangle of Sadness, which is that won the Palme d'Or, so it's just another like festival darling.
I love the title.
Yeah.
Love it.
So do you know what it was referencing? Because when I went into the movie, I never knew like what a triangle of sadness was. Yeah, it's a modeling term for like the bridge of your nose, like the top of your nose and between your eyebrows. So it's like right in the beginning of the movie.
I've never heard of that. Oh my god.
Yeah,
it's wild.
It's like a modeling term. Like, so it's like a guy is like auditioning for, I don't know, modeling some clothes or something. And they're like, you have to relax your triangle of sadness as he's like doing his strut. Anyways, the movie's just kind of like I don't know, almost like a farce. It's kind of taking the piss out of like rich people and modeling and yachts and the whole industry. It talks a lot about gender dynamics and expected roles. And the first act changes to like an absolutely like zany, wacky adventure on a yacht for the second act. And then I won't say where it goes in the third act because it was kind of a little bit surprising, but it was very weird. And usually I'm not in these sorts of movies that are like almost like about rich people and you kind of have to feel like you're part of the community to get them. But this was one that kind of had the people who were sitting next to me, with once again were very wealthy people that were dressed to the nines and full of, you know, fancy alcohol, that they were laughing along for like half the movie and then they were offended for the other half. So
yes.
I was kind of on board with that. That kind of won me over. Yeah, I saw a little movie called Sanctuary, which was definitely shot during COVID and stars Margaret Qualley and God, I'm blanking on the other guy's name right now, but it's essentially just a two-hander of a guy who has a kink for basically being put down, you know? So it winds up being this really like nasty game of cat and mouse and like power dynamics as he's trying to fire her and kind of move on with his life. But of course, if he has a kink of being like submissive, it winds up being this really fucked up relationship that just keeps building and building until it like culminates in like the perfect ending. And it's only like 90 minutes, right? So it's like,
oh, nice.
You're in and you're out. It's just a chamber piece. Both of them, I assume, during COVID. Yeah, some really like interesting cinematography, and they could like completely destroy like the hotel and the hotel room it's set in. It was like a surprise for me. This festival, like a friend of mine was going to see it because he's a fan of Margaret Qualley or thinks she's attractive or for whatever reason. So I was like, sure, I'll add it to my schedule. And yeah, I thought it was really great. Another one of my favorites. But I can't not move on from this section without mentioning The Whale, which is Darren Aronofsky's new movie, and I fucking loved it. Which it's like so. It feels so good to say after Mother, because I was not a fan of Mother. I don't know if you guys have seen Mother.
Mother's
you loved
like,
Mother?
I
Okay.
loved it. I left the theater and I was like, fuck yeah! Like,
I really like Mother also.
Okay, all right. Well, this one is like more similar to like a Black Swan or The Wrestler. You know, it's a little bit more traditional, I guess, is what I'll say. Like Mother seemed like so out of place compared to his last couple movies when I went to see it. And this one's about Brendan Fraser playing a 600-pound man. And obviously the movie explores a lot of different reasons of how he got to that size. You know, it gets into like history of like mental illness and depression and overeating as a coping mechanism. But then it has a bunch of different things such as daddy issues and, religious themes. And I don't know. It was one of these movies that it dealt with so much that it somehow wound up every single little thing it was dealing with. It hit with me. Like, I was literally tearing up within probably about, like, 5 minutes of the movie, like, starting. And I shit you not, the last half hour of the movie, all I could hear was sobbing, like, in the audience. Like, everybody was crying for, like, a good portion of the movie. And maybe it's just because some of the aspects in the movie just played by Brendan Fraser, he's so vulnerable. But also, if you know his story in Hollywood where he was sexually assaulted, spoke out against it, and then was essentially blacklisted. It's a very like tragic story when the character's dealing with a lot of trauma, and it's definitely the best performance I've seen this year. And Brendan Fraser at the festival got a longer standing ovation for his performance than Steven Spielberg did for his movie. So that's
Steven Spielberg, he's had enough ovations. It's fine.
That is true, yeah. But it was just that was pretty wild. And also the credits, like, they play over just like a white backdrop. And I was like, this is the cruelest thing Aronofsky can do, because I was like ugly crying for the last couple of minutes of the movie.
Everybody
and it was just,
is exposed.
everybody could see you. I had to put on like my aviator glasses and like I feel a little bit ashamed. But like I said, everyone was crying. Like, it was just a mess of like snot and tears and whatnot. But it was excellent. It's so good. I cannot wait to see it again. Yeah.
I love Sadie.
Yeah. Oh, she was excellent. She was so good. Yeah, she plays his daughter, and obvious. Well, it's not obvious, but there's reasons in the story why they've kind of been estranged from one another. And yeah, she's excellent in the movie. She's yeah, I won't say anything else, but she's very good.
Okay.
The whole cast is good. It's a very small movie. It's essentially just takes place in this one room over the course of a week in this man's life, and yeah, I loved everything about it. It's the only 5-star I've given this year, so
nice.
In terms of a movie that came out this year, right? So
yeah.
Anyways, I saw a bunch of other good things. Overall, it was a good festival. Not one of the best, considering I only gave 1 5-star. It wasn't like a Parasite year or something where there was 2 or 3 things I absolutely loved.
Yeah.
But yeah, The Whale was a huge standout, and I also saw Barbarian, in theaters, and I really enjoyed that. So yeah, all in all, good festival, and great to be back in Toronto after a couple of years and not being able to attend. So yeah, that's enough rambling for me. I think I went on for like 10 minutes. So Mike, what have you been watching, or what have you been consuming?
Well, that's a good question. I've kind of been all over the map. I've been working a lot of like 5 a.m.s for the last few weeks, so it's really been like taking all my energy out of me. So I kind of like get home and try to sleep for like most of the time and then fail.
Yeah.
So of course I now have started The Real Housewives of Potomac. I had to start a new one. So I've been like kind of like eyeballs deep in that. I saw Barbarian as well. Unfortunately, obviously I could not make it to the recording, but I did really enjoy that. That was Barbarian was my first movie in theaters since months before COVID. So it's almost 3 years since I've been in a theater. So that was my first one back, and I really enjoyed it. It wasn't like packed, but there was, a fair number of people. The theater was probably like half full. Because we went on a Friday night, and it was really enjoyable. I went with a couple of my friends, and people were actually like, a couple of people screamed and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, this is good. This is what I wanted as my like comeback. I didn't want it to be like this annoying ass like kids talking and stuff. But it was good. The movie was good. The experience was good. So I love that. I also saw on opening day after I got off work at 2:00 in the afternoon, I was the only person in the theater, Pearl, which I absolutely loved. I can't wait to go see it again. Part of me wants to go tomorrow on my only day off for like an entire week.
You can't go see Pearl. You got to go see the Avatar re-release, in IMAX 3D.
I've never seen any of the Blue People movies.
Well, now it's time. The new one's coming out in December.
Oh my God.
You got an afternoon free.
But isn't it like 3.5 hours long? I don't know if I could do that. I'd have to get really
long.
high.
It's like 2.5, I think, for sure.
I don't know. Maybe I will. Honestly, maybe I'll make an afternoon out of it. I don't know.
I was like cracking a joke. I figured you'd hate that movie, but
I mean, listen, I didn't see it for a reason. I was very like, for no good reason, against going to see it. I think after Titanic, I automatically dismissed everything that James Cameron was involved with, just because I wanted to be a contrarian. But anyway, yeah, so I might go see Pearl again. Maybe I'll go see that. Who knows? Maybe I'll like, finally shed some light on that blind spot in my viewing history.
Pearl, just an absolutely iconic title sequence. Just when it comes up, like the moment it hits, on the dock with the gator and whatnot, it was very fun.
Oh, There were so many moments when I was like gasped all the air out of the theater. And I was like, oh my god, I was like, as soon as that happened, I knew I'm gonna go see this movie again within 2 weeks. Like, it's gonna happen. I'm gonna bring people to it. Like, we're gonna go see it. So I really enjoyed that.
Did you like it more than X? Mike, I'm just curious. Yeah,
I did, actually. Wow. I did not think it was gonna be the case because I really, really, really enjoyed X. And I love a mean, nasty 70s slasher movie, but this totally took me in a stylistic direction that I didn't think it was going to, and it dipped into that kind of area obviously near the end when it kind of got really out of hand, but I don't know, I just really liked the kind of old school vintage feel that they went for, with all the kind of early Hollywood references. So, and I just think Mia Goth, if she doesn't get an Oscar, then there's no justice.
She's absolutely excellent. Movies like this are notoriously shunned at the Oscars, but I would say she deserves a nom as well. Mm-hmm. Especially there's a 9-minute take, unbroken monologue.
Oh my god, I was that fucking monologue at the end. Literally, I just keep saying to everybody, I'm just go see it for this section alone. I don't care if you walk out afterwards, just go see it. Anyway, and other than that, I actually did see
anyway, sorry, go on, Mike. I keep butting in with Pearl takes. We should have did a now slaying on it, but it was my fault. But
we should have, but that's fine. We can, we'll talk about it.
Maybe a full episode at some point.
A full episode, exactly.
Maybe.
Yeah. And I also then watched the kind of 90s, early 2000s throwback teen comedic revenge movie called Do Revenge.
Oh, I haven't watched
it. On Netflix.
I haven't watched it.
Of course, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Maya Hawke, who I absolutely adore, Camilla Mendes, who I absolutely adore as well.
I heard it's really good. The reviews have been really good.
It was really fun. I mean, it's not some groundbreaking. It's like a pastiche of every Heathers and Cruel Intentions and every other kind of 90s, 80s. Early 2000s teen movie that you can think of, but it's fun. There's lots of really on point 90s needle drops in it for some reason.
Nice.
Even though it's hyper modern because everything in it is focused on their social media and phones and stuff like that. So it's definitely not kind of a throwback where it takes place in the 90s, but for whatever reason all the needle drops are 90s pop music, and it was really fun. Honestly, I had a good time with it. It's the type of thing that I'd put on in the background when I was doing something else. Not the first watch, I obviously wanted to pay attention to it, but it's the kind of thing that if I was going to bed and I woke up in the middle of the night and couldn't sleep, I'd put it on to conk out to. Yeah. What about you, Ro?
Yeah, are you guys sitting down?
Oh no, come on, Rowan.
No, this is weird. I haven't really watched that much.
Girl, if I watched multiple movies in the last 2 weeks. I can't
I'll preface by saying this. So basically, last week I got put off of work for injury. So I was and then I'm on vacation right after. So I've got 3 weeks off, and I'm watching so many movies. So I'm almost a week of being off, and all I've done is play Doom 2016. That's pretty much all I've been doing.
But it's a masterpiece.
It is.
Great choice, yeah.
I'm almost done. I'm almost at the end. So that's been taking up all my time. So that's why my list is pretty short. I've gotten some TV in. I finally finished Mike, which is the FX show on Mike Tyson. They did. That's been kind of controversial. Mike Tyson, didn't condone it, and basically said they never even talked to him once about it. It's really good. I was a little worried because, if you know anything about Mike Tyson, he's a very controversial figure. I mean, was convicted of rape, all that kind of stuff. And I got kind of worried because the first half is really celebrating him and, the sports icon. And I was thinking, this is kind of weird. But it does an awesome twist halfway through where it's more of yeah, he's really good, but he's also super shitty, and it just kind of lets you have your own opinion on what you think about that. I'm halfway through the Dahmer show that the world's going crazy about right now.
Yeah.
Evan Peters, give that man, let's give that TV show an Oscar. He's awesome in it. Like,
listen, I'm sure that's true, and I do love him, but he has now made a career of playing the exact same character in every single Ryan Murphy show.
I was gonna say I can't watch it because it's Ryan Murphy is the reason why I can't watch it.
So I've said many times, like, I am not a Ryan Murphy guy. I always try to watch American Horror Story. I never finish it.
Because the first 6 episodes are
good,
always,
and then they're never
not even good. They're always brilliant.
Yeah,
and then it just falls fucking apart.
I'm really not a fan of his, but I will say I think he's 2 for 2 on Netflix. Like, I really liked Ratchet when it came out.
That was excellent, yeah.
Yeah, and I love that. Like I said, I've never finished anything he's
Speaking
ever made.
Of, R.I.P. Louise Fletcher, the original Ratchet.
He has more than that on Netflix, though, for sure. Maybe 2 for 2 in what you
watch.
watch.
What I've watched.
Netflix, yeah.
I'm just talking about, like, that stuff.
Oh my god, what's that one where it's like this school president? Anyway, whatever.
Yeah, there's multiple Ryan Murphy projects on Netflix. I'm gonna say most of them are, from what I've heard, are not that great.
I really like this one. I'll be honest, till the second episode, I didn't even know it was Ryan Murphy that did it. It's not his tone at all. It kind of felt to me like, is it Fincher that does Mindhunter?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I don't believe you that Ryan Murphy can do Fincher, but...
It doesn't look as clean as Fincher, but it's the same tone. It's, like, very monotone. It's very muted. Like, the performances aren't big. It's just very... Which, I mean, Dahmer wasn't, he wasn't like a Ted Bundy. He was a very muted... Which like I said, I was just really surprised when I was like, oh, wait a second, this is Ryan Murphy. Like, this is not like anything like Ryan Murphy's ever done. Now, I know someone else also wrote it, like he didn't do it by himself. So that could also be, and he's not directing or anything. It's other directors, but I've really liked it as someone that, I like all the serial killer stuff. So, but I'm a big fan of like the Dahmer movie with Jeremy Renner from like forever ago,
1999 or something.
Yeah. And Evan Peters just crushes it. And I'm trying to think, I just did rewatches. Like I rewatched Elvis with Exilia. Exilia hadn't seen it, so we watched it in 4K. I had to utilize the 4K player. I went and bought it in 4K.
Nice.
It still holds up. It was still fun. And it looks great, so I rewatched Coneheads. I finally busted out the Coneheads Blu-ray I bought.
The 4K? You got the 4K Blu-ray Coneheads?
Coneheads not in 4K, sadly.
Damn.
But Coneheads is fun. I mean, it's like early, SNL movie. A lot of great appearances from, like, I forgot, like, people like Adam Sandler and stuff make cameos in it before they were, like, really big. So... it was kind of cool.
Not Adam Sandler.
Well, I mean, we know I hate Adam Sandler, but I'm saying he's big. Most people would be like, whoa.
That's fair.
I did watch Speak No Evil on Prime. I thought it was pretty good. The ending's pretty, if you haven't seen it, just get ready for your night to be ruined and just to be depressed for the rest of
I was going to say, don't spoil it, please. I'm planning on watching that.
No. Yeah, it was good. I don't know if it was, like, amazing. It's shot very well. Like, it looks beautiful. I wasn't on board for, like, all of it, but yeah, the ending's wild. Like, you guys, I saw Pearl. I wasn't as big a fan of it, I think, as everybody else. I didn't hate it. I really didn't think it was as good as X, and I guess I really didn't have that. I didn't have that much interest in the character to really need a prequel, so I was just like, whatever. I just want movies about the crocodile. Let's just do Lake Placid again.
We could just watch like
Betty White is
Alligator.
dead.
Yeah,
Alligator, that's a great movie.
Yeah.
Alligator, just alligator movies. But I want one specifically about that alligator. I want to know, like a kid's movie when it's a baby, and just let's do it.
So
Yeah,
when
I
they
think that
fed
might
it
be...
children.
Yes, but I think that might be the fourth movie. Like, because Maxine is next, right? And then we're probably
Yeah,
getting
it
Alligator.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
after that.
Alligator.
Yeah.
And that's it, guys. That's all I watched. Doom's been taking up my life.
And I'm sorry to report, but nothing Rowan watched since the last episode is as good as Jaws. So the segment's just dead. Nothing.
What did I give Jaws? 4?
4, yeah.
Well, I mean, then you
Well,
didn't.
maybe.
You didn't see.
I
me.
didn't want to spoil something.
Yeah,
you know?
let's wait till the end.
Yeah.
So let's get into the film for this evening. As I said, this was a pick by Holly P. We said pick a movie for us to watch, and she had the long list, but we narrowed it down, and she said, you know what? I want to hear you guys talk about Scream from 2022. Are we at the point now we just say Scream 5, or does it have to be just Scream 2022? I don't know.
Well, they kind of talk about that in this movie.
Yeah,
that's.
I guess we'll get into it.
But I think there was some marketing of it that, like, official posters and stuff that did have a 5 on it. I think
that was like maybe like its in production title. I seem to remember there being like some cast chairs or something with Scream 5 on it at some point.
I just remember seeing something, but then when it came out, it was just like Scream.
So let's get into the trailer, and we'll be back with the bio.
Hello.
Sid, it's happening. 3 attacks so far.
Well,
whatever his link is to our past, it ends here.
I've seen this movie before.
not this movie, Sydney.
Scream. Rated R.
Scream was directed by Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillett, and written by James Vanderbilt and Guy Busick. And the story is as follows. 25 years after a string of brutal murders terrorized the quiet town of Woodsboro, California, a new killer dons the ghost face mask and begins targeting a group of teenagers to resurrect secrets from the town's deadly past.
So we know where we're going to start. Is this our first time seeing this film? Or what is our first experiences with it? We'll start with you, Mike.
Oh, me. Well, I will tell you, this was actually supposed to be the movie that got me back in theaters this year. And the week that it came out was when there was a big spike of COVID variant number 25, and our theaters shut down for, I don't know, like a month or something. And so, of course, I was destined to not see it. So that was very disappointing, but I did, by the time they opened up and I think it was still playing, I ended up seeing it like from an on-demand online, and so I did get to watch it, but it was in the comfort of my own home instead of the theater, which kind of sucks because, you know, I think I've seen every Scream movie in theaters because I started going to them like as soon as they came out. I had to get my dad to bring me to like the first 2, I think. Like, Dad always used to like bring me when I was like even like 10 years old. I'd get him to bring me to horror movies and stuff. So this was the only one that I didn't see in theaters. So that kind of sucked, but yeah, I did see it back in like whatever that was, maybe like February or March. I enjoyed getting to rewatch it again because I wanted to watch it again anyway. So what about you, Ro?
This one, it's hard to say if it was because the theater where I'm at kind of kept shutting down and reopening during COVID. I feel like I saw other stuff when it reopened, but I know when it like permanently reopened and never shut down again was January. I believe that this was January, wasn't it?
Early January, I think.
Yeah,
January 14th.
Yeah. So I did see this in the theater. This was my first. So I guess I'll say it was my first time back in the theater since whatever shutdown that was. And if I recall, I think I was the only one at this screening. I mean, my theater's slow anyway, but this is one of the rare times. I've said on this podcast tons of times before, the theater where I am is very rural, and whoever chooses what movies they play should be fired because they're like 0 for 10. They pick. Out of the list of movies that get released, they pick the movies that never do well or just suck. And then the ones they don't bring are the ones that are like the sleeper hits that make all the money. So unless you're Top Gun, like my theater's still playing Top Gun in like 3 of the screens.
I think most theaters are still playing Top Gun, even though it's on VOD now.
Stop trying to make Top Gun happen.
Make it happen, guys. Make it happen. But yeah, no, so they did bring this in, and I saw it, and yeah, so I'll talk about what I think about it in a bit. What about you, Colton?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I feel like Mike did see this a little bit before me. I feel like he was watching like a Russian cam version with slots all over it or some shit.
we're not gonna talk about the shitty. It was French. It wasn't Russian. It was French.
Okay,
I think I remember that text.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think he watched it a little bit before me, but I did see this in theaters, so it must have been we were closed down for a couple of weeks, and when it opened, I probably went as soon as it opened. I did see it in an audience that was probably about half full, I would say. And people seem to be responding pretty well to it. But yeah, that's the only time I saw it. I saw it earlier this year in theaters. And yeah, let's wait until we get to the review. But
yeah, well, let's get into the review, get into the meat and potatoes. We'll start with, the simple question of what is your favorite kill / favorite scene? Colton.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a bummer for me because I think the best scene in the movie is the opening scene of the movie. And when I was rewatching it this time, knowing all the twists and turns, knowing who the killers are, knowing who survives and all this stuff, it wasn't the most interesting rewatch for me. I'm not going to lie. It could be because I've seen it within the last 9 months or whatever. But for me specifically, I thought the opening scene still worked really well. I think Jenna Ortega just like absolutely kills it. I like the little bit of discussion on elevated horror. I think it is a cardinal
I thought
sin.
of you.
Yeah, I'm here like in the A24 shirt, right? Like,
were you offended? Were you like, fuck this movie?
No, I wasn't offended, but I think it commits the cardinal sin of mentioning numerous movies that are far better than this movie. Like, in my opinion, I would say The Babadook, It Follows, Hereditary, and The Witch are all better than this movie. So I find it weird when movies kind of criticize other movies that wind up inherently being a better movie than the movie that's criticizing them or mentioning them. And it's not so much of a criticism with these movies. She just kind of name drops them. But there are other movies in here that they mention that they kind of lambast a little bit. I mean, specifically like Star Wars, The Last Jedi gets some major shade at one point where they're talking about, the Knives Out director came and directed the 8th iteration of Stab and everyone hates it and they're Mary Sue and all that. It's all that fucking Star Wars discourse that I'm like, bro, I do not need to relive this shit. But yeah, that's besides the point. My favorite scenes, the opening scene, where we think she's dead and then it's revealed like, oh my God, she actually survived. I thought it was well done. I thought it was like actually scary. I don't know if that's how security systems work, but I'll brush that aside and say it was still a great scene.
No, but like you're so right. It's so brutal.
Yeah. It's it feels very visceral. It feels like it's not like the other Scream movies in my opinion. That's a note. I think it is a lot more brutal and almost like nasty to a degree.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
there is an element that makes it feel more real with all the stabbings and just how hard the killers go in this one.
Yeah.
But
the knives, like I find like with a lot of the scenes in this, like when they pull the knives out, there's like bits and chunks of stuff. Like,
yeah,
it's not just like faded corn syrup blood. Like, like you said, it's like very visceral blood and like just gunk.
Yeah, it's no, I think it's a great scene. And when I saw how great Jenna Ortega was in this scene, I was like, why isn't she the star of the movie? And Melissa Barrera is, who can't fucking act her way out of a paper bag, is just like the worst performance I've seen in ages as from like a lead, right? Like, anyways, we'll get into that. Mike, what's your favorite scene?
Well, okay, so obviously it's just going to be spoilerific. That's just the nature of the beast when you're talking about a Scream movie. So mine is the like, I guess it's like the sort of climactic. It's, the like whole right after the killer is revealed and it's like, welcome to Act 3. But it's right after that. It's when they're having that like discussion with Amber about everything, and she's like, obviously doing her like villain monologue and blah blah blah, and like honestly I adore that actress and that character so much. I just thought it was so much fun, and it was like such a great callback, as a lot of things are in this movie, to this scene, because it takes place in the same house at the end of the first one when they're explaining everything. But it was better because I think she's better than Skeet Ulrich and Matthew Lillard, and the character's more interesting, and who cares about a couple of dudes. But I just loved that whole like scene where they're like, you know, sort of like revealing the whole plan and the setup and everything. And I just thought it was really fun, you know, and like the actress was really great, and I don't know. It was just, to me, that was like one of the highlights of the movie because it was kind of unhinged, and I thought it was like fun unhinged, not just like, you know, unhinged for the sake of it. Because, you know, Scream is always like scary but also funny, and I thought that they really were, after like kind of neglecting the funny for most of the movie, I thought that was like, I just thought it was blackly humorous, and, you know, I enjoyed it. Because I also really enjoyed the opening scene, but I didn't want to say that because I knew somebody else would. So, yeah, that's it. That whole, like, the explanation in the house, that was, I would say, my favorite scene. Also, there were some really good kills, and the whole, you know, oven fire and everything. Ro, what do you think? What are your thoughts? What are your picks?
I mean, obviously, runner up, like, shout out that opening scene. Colton's right on that. Like, great opening scene. Jenna Ortega's just awesome. Like, just we don't
she
we don't
doesn't get enough.
her. We don't deserve her as horror fans. But my favorite kill in this, I have a favorite scene and favorite kill, and they're separate this time. I really like the Dewey kill, just because I think for just Scream in general, it's probably the most brutal kill out of, like, any of the Scream movies. Just, like, the knife in the stomach, the knife in the back, and then just, like, that slow pushing up of the knives.
It made my skin crawl when I was watching it the first time. I just like, I couldn't get over it. Yeah.
And, you know, kind of like we said, just like as a movie that, like, you know, everyone in these movies are always just getting stabbed and shit, but it's always just kind of like pokes, and it's just like, Scream has like that humorous tone to it. So I find a lot of the times, even with the kills, there's almost that humor in it as well. Where this is just, it's just like brutal.
Yeah, it's almost slapsticky.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's exactly how, you know, it worked exactly how they wanted it to work with someone like our age or whatever, where like you have this legacy character dying and like it's important and it feels like it means something and it's a little more brutal. And then, you know, like I obviously, even on this rewatch, like I was re-examining, you know, like I was like, oh, it's still kind of funny because it's like, you know, this Gen Z anger taken out on millennials, and which like the whole movie is kind of like alluding to. But like my favorite like scene, which I think overshadows my favorite kill, is just like one of the really quick comedy lines in it, and it's kind of right at the before that third act, and it's when like Mindy's on the couch watching the first stab, and then I know we should say his name's Richie. We all know his real name's Huey. Like, let's be serious. Every time I see him, I'm like, we know your name's Huey, man. I watched The Boys. I know that's your name.
I haven't seen The Boys, so I know him as Jack Quaid.
Oh, Jack Quaid is like one of the lead characters.
I know he is, yeah.
Huey.
I know
so every time I
yeah.
see him, I never remember his name's Jack Quaid. I'm just like, oh, that's Huey. But
I just know him as Vanilla White Man number 17.
But yeah, the scene where he like says there's no beer, and then he's like asking her if she wants to go, and she's like no, but there's like that quick little quip that when he goes down, and then Mindy's like, he's dead, and every time I just like bust a gut laughing. I should mention at the top of this, for all the listeners, these guys already know, but earlier today I was at a wedding, and so I was watching this at a wedding. I had like captions on and I had the sound down, and that scene came on while I was like at a table during dinner, and I laughed out loud. I was like, oh yeah. But yeah, I really like that. That was probably my favorite scene. So I'm curious. I don't know. I mean, I know Mike's familiarity. Have you seen all the Screams, Colton?
Yes, but I'm not like diehard fans like you guys. I watched them, I don't know, probably in the mid-2000s. It was before the fourth one came out. I watched Scream 1, 2, 3, and then when the fourth one came out, I watched that. And now I've seen the first Scream probably 2 other times since then. My familiarity with them, I was kind of thinking, okay, I will rewatch them all before we record this episode. But I wound up getting another job as soon as I got back from Toronto, and now all of my time is occupied by working in film production again. So it was just like, well, I can't rewatch them to fully experience all the little references and whatnot in here. So yeah, I've seen them. I don't know them intimately other than, I know the first one pretty well.
So, and I mean, I feel like this could give away some of our thoughts on it. I was just curious at, like, for you, Mike, where this stands in the canon of Scream. Like, you're ranking them. Like, where do you put this?
Ranking is a fool's game, but honestly, that's my thought on it.
Mike's not playing your game.
I'm not playing that game, even though I am a fool. But to your point, I will say that obviously, like, I love all the movies. The first one has a very, very, very special place in my heart. I saw it when it first came out, and it was a formative movie in my, like, adolescence, and it sort of informed my movie watching experience kind of like from then on out. So it's sort of an untouchable, like, crown jewel, but honestly, it's not a Scream 1, but, like, to me, the reverence through which it is requeling, as they were talking about, I do put it amongst the top couple in the series. Number 2 is Holy Grail, and then number 4, and then number 3. There's not a bad movie, is the thing. Like, even though a lot of people don't like number 3, but, like, there's a lot about number 3 that is actually very good. It does deserve to be at the bottom of the pile, but I'd put it up in the top, like, 3. Actually, no, let me revise that. So it's like Scream 1, then Scream 4, then Scream 2. I would put that on par with Scream 2. I think it's a tie for 3rd place. I know that doesn't say much. That's what I said.
I just like it for the guy that refused to play my game. You then rank them all. So
you still did it, yeah.
Yes, I did. Listen, you gotta play the game, and you gotta get in, and then subvert it. I don't know. Listen, I tried. Okay,
I was gonna say I think we're on the same level, and I'm actually I guess I'm kind of interested, maybe more from you then, Colton, where, like, you were talking about, like, you're not overly attached to this series, because I feel like I'm kind of in the middle. I wouldn't say I never really started rewatching Scream, like, until we reviewed it a couple years ago. Like, I'd only seen it once. I was kind of whatever to it. Mm-hmm. But as I've gotten older,
so I'm the diehard one here.
You're the diehard one.
Okay.
But I was just gonna say, from, like, when I hear other people talk about it, other podcasts, read other articles, like, I feel like everyone kind of matches up on it, because I'm the exact same. To me, it's kind of Scream 1, Scream 2, this, and then, like, 4 and 3, or 3 or 4, like, however you want to throw those ones around.
No, but see, 4 is definitely better than 3.
Yeah,
like, girl, you can't even.
I'll be honest, 3 and 4, like, I think I've only seen once. I barely remember them. The first and the second one, I've seen the most. I guess before I get into it, like, I do want your opinion on it, Colton, as someone that has no association, I guess.
On the ranking?
Just, like, how you feel, even if you don't want to rank them.
Just about the franchise as a whole?
Like, the franchise as a whole, like, how you would compare this to the other
Where
entries.
that stacks up in general, I guess.
Yeah, I would say that I'm a big fan of the first Scream. I think what it did at its time is very impressive. A movie like Scream, the one from 1996, you kind of have to take it for the time it came out, where it was one of the first few movies that was actually commenting on movies as you were watching it. I know there's, like, comedy movies that reference things and parody and stuff like that, but the fact that it was kind of referencing numerous horror movies for a horror audience was kind of, I don't know, it was kind of breaking new ground at the time. What I'll say, and I've kind of, like, worked with some younger people over the last 6 months, a lot of people do not think the original Scream holds up at all. Purely because if you don't watch it with any reverence, or if you have no nostalgia for it, almost every movie nowadays references other movies, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not
you
really
don't
special.
you have no like context for its like
Exactly.
meta-ness.
Yeah, so I watched it early enough that I do have some, adoration of it. I do enjoy it, and I do remember watching all the sequels with like weekends movie nights, with friends in high school or junior high. So it has a little bit of a special place in my heart, but like not enough to really rewatch any of them, clearly, right? I really liked the first one, and then this one, as I'm sure some people have figured out by now, I'm not a huge fan of. I don't think it's bad, but I think it's kind of just doing what the first one did, but worse, at a time that every single movie does this. Like, referencing other movies is not novel anymore, and the fact that this movie is just constantly name dropping other movies or pointing out how this is similar to another movie, or kind of breaking apart, I don't know, what a requel is and whatnot. It's just, I've heard other movies do this. Like, I have lived through the Scary Movie era where I've seen 5 or 6 of those movies referencing and making fun of other movies, and all of those numerous parody movies. So,
which, to its credit, is because of this, right? And that's,
of course, yes, 100%.
That's the word. It's the blessing and the curse, right? It's like, it was formative and seminal, but also then it created a monster that it can't ever like compete against.
Yeah, this movie did exactly what it was supposed to do. It commented on the original Scream. It commented on kind of the state of movies and rebooting things, and it did it competently. But it's just, I was like, yeah, you kind of understood the assignment. You did exactly what I expected, but no extra credit or no bonus. It's not like an A+ for me. It's just like, yeah, you got it. That's what I would have expected. I mean, obviously it could have been a lot worse. There's numerous bad reboots or requels, but it was just kind of like, this is what I expected from the team after seeing like Ready or Not, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
is this what gave us requel? Was this like the first?
Yeah, this was what did it. I mean, before that it was, God, what was it being called? They say legacy sequel in this, which I don't think I heard before this movie. I honestly can't remember what we were calling it before that. So that
maybe
is
also to its credit.
Yeah, that might be to its credit. That might be
what it was before. Yeah,
that might be the biggest thing this movie has. That's a big feather in its cap, because I do use the term requel now for sure, and I think it's become synonymous. I think people do know what it means. So
yeah, I was gonna say,
well,
after
I
this
guess
came
it entered
out,
the lexicon. That is something. Like I said, yeah.
Because I was gonna say, yeah, like after this, I feel like all the articles I read after this, like, just you couldn't escape requel. It was like its own horror movie. And especially, like, I feel like pretty much right after this, then you got, like, the Texas Chainsaw announcement and the release, and it was just...
Okay, but to be fair, that had been, like, in the works for, like,
before,
4 years.
Yeah. It's just, I think they released it after they saw, like, okay, this did well, let's just put it out as soon as possible.
Although I see it's been so long, and we do so many of these, it just all blurs. I feel like when we reviewed Texas Chainsaw, we criticized it for not following the requel rules in Scream, and I feel like we said they should have I feel like one of us commented that they should have watched Scream, and they wouldn't.
Yeah,
have.
there is. That's the thing, and once again, like when you watch this movie for the first time, you think about like some of the stuff when it's breaking down the structure. It's like, okay, that is pretty clever, but then you have to realize the movie you're watching just adheres to the structure that they did 40 minutes into the movie, and now you have to sit through the next hour and 20 just to watch it play out exactly as they specified. Like, even pointing out, like, the killers and whatnot, like, they get them right pretty much, like, in that scene. Like, it's just a weird experiment, this one is. I don't know. Honestly, my biggest issue with this movie is fucking Melissa Barrera. I don't know if you guys agree with me, but like she actually sucks. Like
Girl,
okay. She's in 90% of the movie, and I just like every single note is false. Every single one.
So I will. Yes, I'm gonna. One of my big things that I wanted to talk about. I'm gonna like. You are sort of bringing it up now. So one of the things that I was thinking about while watching this was how the success of Scream movies lies, obviously, Wes Craven's like vision and his direction, and it was always the writing too. But to me, that's to a lesser extent because the writing was, as we sort of touched on, very of its time. It was a touchstone, but then it's like when you watch, oh my god, what's it called? That Diablo Cody movie.
Oh,
that Elliot Page was
Body,
Juno.
No, the very first one. Juno, yes,
Juno.
I don't know why. Yeah, you know what I mean? And that's sort of like every movie afterwards kind of started sounding like that. And then now when you look back on it, it's like,
yeah,
you get why it was so explosively seminal, but also it's very dated. So I feel like it does that. But like, to me, more so than the writing, the like success of a Scream movie and like people's love of it rests on the characters and specifically the actors. And you see that because people become obsessed. Like when they announced that Hayden Panettiere was coming back for Scream 6, like the internet just exploded. Everybody I know, right? I mean, so it's like there's this huge like pocket of people, right? So it's like people get attached to these characters, and that's like a huge thing in this movie because they do, you know, very much like try to, you know, the characters are the ones who are like channeling that like emotional heft that they're trying to do. But I thought in this movie, which is also kind of true in the first one with Neve Campbell and Skeet Ulrich, because I think Neve Campbell's character becomes better as the movies progress. Like in number 2, like I feel like they really build on her character. But I found that Melissa Barrera and Jack Quaid, literally, it was like blank slates. It was just, like you said, can't act their way out of a wet paper bag. He was a little bit better, but like
I was
that character is
I'll
thankless.
push back on
That character
Jack
is thankless.
Yeah.
It's a thankless character. It was just like blah, you know, whatever. Like maybe I would have liked the character more if they'd got somebody else to play him. Not that I have a problem with him, but I just was sort of like, whatever. But like she was awful, and I will admit that. But I also think that she's kind of like a red herring. I feel like they put her there as like the quote unquote final girl, but it was more her sister. It was more Neve Campbell. You know what I mean? Like as soon as they brought Neve Campbell back, it's like, who the fuck? You don't even remember that she exists, right? Like Neve Campbell just totally overtakes her.
Yeah, see, I found the big issue, and I especially noticed it on this watch, was like the minute Neve Campbell comes in, she just like steals every scene that all of these other people are in. Even someone as hefty as like with Courtney Cox and stuff, like I was just like, A, I was like, man, it's hard to look at your face. But B,
girl, leave her alone, okay? You try being that age and a woman in Hollywood. Anyway, go ahead.
I'm just saying, the meme with her face and Blade from Puppet Master, it's real. It looks the same. But what I'm saying is, like, even with her, who, like, she's a giant part of the Scream lore, like,
and she's magnetic. She is, like, Courtney Cox is extremely charismatic.
But I think one thing I really appreciate is that maybe I just forgot how good Neve Campbell is. Because, like, I thought Neve was just, like, awesome in every scene she was in. None of these guys could really, like, keep up with her. No. She just stole every scene. Like, her wittiness in it, and just, like, everything about it. She knows these movies, right? Which is funny, because that's really the whole play of the character, is like, I know everything.
Yeah, she says, I've been through this movie before. Like,
yeah. But yeah, like, I just thought it was, like we keep saying, like, I thought Jenna was really the only one that kind of kept up with her remotely.
It's funny, I'm on like a different page from you guys. I think everybody in this cast is great, other than Melissa Barrera. I think she is so bad that she just takes, it's like a black hole. She just takes all of the terribleness of acting, and it's just her. Everyone else to me is good or performs their role. Even Liv, who's like very one note, like discount Samara Weaving. I'm like, you know what? She's not that bad.
I was like, is this Samara? Did she put a wig on? Like,
yeah. And what's funny is, I know this might be sacrilegious to say, but as someone who's not like the biggest Scream fan in terms of like, you know, I've only seen them once, the legacy characters don't do anything for me, right? Like I go like, okay, they're back, and the movie comments on the fact that you have to bring the legacy characters back for like the old fans to like, and that's kind of like, for me, it's like, I actually like the new cast. I'm fine with it. Like, I would have been fine with it just a little less, or, you know, Sidney Prescott, I understand what you guys are saying, but she's just, Neve Campbell's just given all of like the badass heroine lines that like I don't know, Sarah Connor in the new Terminator when she comes back. Like, it's just, she's the grizzled badass that comes back. Or the way, like, Jamie Lee is, like, after she kind of finds her groove in the new Halloween and stuff, right? It's just, they bring back these characters and just make them incredibly badass. And in this, it's just, like, they give her all the badass lines. I'm Sidney Prescott. Of course I own a fucking gun. You know? Like, it's just like, okay.
I love it, though. But, like, listen, I don't mind a little bit of pandering to the old school diehards. Like, it brings a little bit. It makes me misty, right? Like,
it's just the movie is criticizing those sorts of movies, and it is one of those fucking movies, which is the thing. Like, when it's doing that whole talk,
that's Scream. It's like parodying a slasher, but also being a slasher.
It's just that scene specifically. Like, maybe you guys didn't live through the Last Jedi discourse online and have had hour-long conversations on that fucking movie.
Well, I'm not a Star Wars person, so I did not have any of that Discord. No, I think that was a Freudian slip, because I think there was a lot of Discord.
There was.
Discourse.
It's just like hearing them bring that up again in this movie. And they are very critical of like requels and whatnot. It winds up being like, but this is just exactly what you guys are criticizing. So it's one of those movies where it points out all the issues with it, and then it still does exactly what it is. It's like one of those movies where it talks about like, well, that was dumb. And I'm like, yeah, but you wrote that in the script, and you wrote it dumb, and you had a chance to change it, like, so there is a point where this movie could have just broke down what all these other requels are and then zigged, could have went in a completely different direction and like made something different, but they just literally hit beat for beat what the requel is. Maybe the next one will go in a different direction. I don't know. Maybe they knew they had to just do the
because they don't have
requel.
Nev Campbell, so.
Well, yeah, it has to be different, I guess.
That alone is going to be like a wrench in the machine.
I hope Melissa Barrera is the opening kill right in the beginning of the movie. I mean, that'll be an instant, 1 star higher for me.
They're gonna have to. They keep saying, people are gonna die. The game has to be up. So
I hope so.
But that was the consensus anyway. I think nobody liked her, and I think that they knew that. I think that they knew that character was boring as fuck, even though she, had visions of a horribly digitally youthed fucking
Skeet
Billy
Ulrich.
Loomis.
That was the scariest visage in the entire movie. I was like, oh no.
I was like, that cannot be him, but I was like, no, it is. That's the digital aging of a person who is now, because I think he was the oldest out of all of them when they shot the first one. Anyway, I feel like he was like 30 years old then. So
which I don't even really get, because these guys obviously aren't watching Riverdale. Because I'm like, man, Skeet still looks good. Like, he doesn't look that different.
Yeah, but he died when he was like 17. So.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if it's actually digital is the thing, because I searched up pictures as well, and he kind of just looks like that. And I think it might just be caked in makeup. Are you sure?
Because I was watching it and I was like, this looks like some bad digital.
No, I agree. It looks like shit, but I think it might just be makeup and lighting or something. I have no clue. Because I was like, man, this has to be like deep fakes or de-aging, right? Yeah. And I typed in like Skeet Ulrich 2022, and like I looked at multiple pictures of him, and I was like, yeah, he kind of just looks like that with a little bit of like a 5 o'clock shadow type of thing. So I honestly don't know. Maybe it is de-aging, but there's something looks off, whether it's the makeup or it's de-aging. He looks weird. He looks like a cadaver in a way. His face is weirdly smooth and whatnot.
Yeah, that was the part that got to me. It was the face. I was like, literally, it was like, when they like get like old women to like touch up frescoes, and they just like, it's like a 2-year-old did it. It's just like a smiley face. That's to me kind of what it looked like. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, listen, but before we veer off of, because we're talking about how awful she is and stuff, I do want to give the flowers, since you did bring it up yourself too, to the cast of the movie. I think, and that's what I was hinting at earlier, like with the strength of it lies in both the characters and the actors that play them, and I think that's one of the reasons why I really enjoyed this movie so much, is because the characters were great, and I thought the actors were just like so fun and charismatic and just like totally there for it, you know what I mean? And like I love that Heather Matarazzo came back and had her little tiny cameo, and you know they had the like shrine to Jamie Kennedy's character, and you know it's just so cute. And I mean I know it's like fan service, but like I don't care. And Barley Shelton came back and then got like brutally murdered. And just everything about it, the whole cast was just wonderful. Like everybody in it, I can't wait to see them come back in number 6. The ones who survived.
I really liked Chad and Mindy, like the brother and sister.
No, oh my
like,
god! By the way, Cuba Gooding Jr.'s son. Did you realize that?
Really? No, I never knew
yeah,
that.
Mason Gooding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'm the
really
biggest
good.
fan of Chad, but I did like Mindy. Also, I hate. Once again, this is like the way the movie is. It's like they named the big muscly jock character Chad.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It's
very on the nose. It's very on the nose.
You know, the character Wes who dies, and then it's like they have the whole thing for Wes, and I'm like...
For Wes, yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, all right.
What I want to know is, I forget who it is, but someone in the movie comments, I think it's Sam tells Wes that she really likes his hair, and I was just like, what? I was like,
Yeah, it's the, like...
I was like...
You know, bleach...
Yeah, I was like, is this not
frosted
set in 2022? Like, this isn't good hair. Why are we telling him this? Like, he has 2001, like, Eminem Real Slim Shady hair going on.
I have seen some people bring that back with the roots. I have seen that, but...
No, that was like little baby gay hair, and I'm kind of disappointed that they didn't get to pull at that thread a bit more. But I saw that and I was like, oh, they're gonna like get into how he's a little baby gay, and then they never did because he died. And then they also gave him a shower scene, so I just thought for sure if he doesn't die, anyway.
It is kind of cute that after that shower scene, he's like making, setting up supper for him and his mom, getting a little sushi stuff out and all ready. It's just such a long ass scene. And I was kind of watching it this time. And I was like, knowing that the killer like isn't behind any of these like doors that they keep like doing the violin squeal with, I'm like, this is just an actually long scene of a kid just setting the table for him and his mom to have a nice dinner. It's just like 5
I
minutes.
actually wrote a note about that. I'm like, I absolutely love that he's just like, doesn't even have to be told. He's just like such a good son.
Yeah,
nice that son. He like she's out getting sushi for them, and he's like, oh, I'm just gonna set the table, right? And it's like, oh, it just like it actually warmed my heart, and like knowing that he was about to get like grossly stabbed through the neck, I was like, oh my god, like it's just he's such a good son, and like a single mom, Anyway, it was just a little touch that I thought was kind of cool.
I do want to give a big shout out to Kyle Gallner, though. He was
my god, he is one of my favorite people in the universe. And by the way, he's ageless. That man is ageless. Like it took me like 10 minutes to realize it was him when I first saw him.
Yeah, he's in Jennifer's Body, which is like 10, 15 years ago. How long has it been since that movie?
13 years? It was 2009, I think.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
I love that. That character's so dirtbag, and I just loved it.
He's so good. He's really game. He has like a really good sense of humor.
Oh, he's the one I made a note of that like this is discount Skeet Ulrich with a goatee.
Yeah.
I was like, who is this guy? But you guys know him, okay.
And it's funny because like he kind of has that already like a sort of tenuous Wes Craven connection because he starred in that god awful, ill-fated Nightmare on Elm Street reboot as a teenager.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he kind of gave me like Big 8 discount store Shia LaBeouf vibes.
RC Cola. To our Atlantic Canadian friends. I assume that's not anywhere else.
Yeah, I feel like it's probably not. Who knows? I will say though, like I really like David Arquette in this, and I am not a David Arquette guy at all. Now I will say, when I first started watching it before we left for the wedding, Exilia was in and out, and we could not remember like the character's name, and
Dewey?
Yeah,
Dewey.
because Exilia was Exilia was like, it's Dewey, isn't it? And so of course I'm like, no, it's not Dewey. Dewey's the name.
The voice of reason, Exilia.
I was like, Dewey's the name of the one from Scary Movie. And she's like, I don't remember. And then we remembered the Scary Movie is Doofus.
No, wasn't his name like Doofus? I was gonna say Dopey. Yeah, whatever,
man.
yeah.
But I just like the David Arquette, like the minute I think of David Arquette, then I automatically think of like the guy that played him in Scary Movie. And I automatically go to Scary Movie whenever David Arquette is like in anything.
Mm-hmm.
Although I was reflecting as we gave our list of our Scream movies in order. Does this get bumped to 4? Like, is Scary Movie actually 3 for Scream movies?
I mean, listen, it does have some of the most iconic moments ever.
Most overused moments.
Whatever.
But yeah, no, I was going to say, in all seriousness, I thought David Arquette was actually pretty good in this. Like,
well, I mean, listen, I'm going to be real. When I watched it the first time, I was making like a ritual of it because I couldn't get out to the theater and I had been waiting a very long time for this movie to come out. And I did weep. I had a little tear when he died. I'm not going to lie. It totally like it tugged on my heartstrings specifically. Like, I know it was playing me like a fucking fiddle, and I don't care. I knew it, and I was sitting there, and I was like, I'm not gonna cry, and I did tear up a bit.
Yeah,
it was like, it's David Arquette, but David Arquette is so, like, he's just, like, such a great guy. Like, you know what I mean? He just has this, like, charm that, like, you can't teach people. Like, he just has it. He's just charming. That's just the way it is, you know?
Yeah, you teared up like me watching a 600-pound Brandon Fraser in a fat suit, you know? So
yeah, except it was, you know, getting manipulated in a slasher movie.
I will say that David Arquette is pretty good in this movie. Like, he can muster a tear or like glossy eyes, or once again, Melissa Barrera just straight up can't.
Yeah.
I wrote, what is this divorce story? She can't even muster a single real tear. And I was watching the entire time where she goes on for like 5 minutes talking about how she made her parents divorce and estranged from Jenna and all this shit. And they cut away. She does not have a single tear. They cut back, and there's one on her cheek. And I'm like,
yeah,
someone got the dropper out. And
yeah, they were like, quick, give it to her.
And then you keep watching, and it doesn't organically roll down her cheek. They cut back again, and then it's like already halfway down rolling. I'm like, she couldn't cry that there was that much manipulation to get a tear to come down her cheek at the end of the scene. And obviously, I'm a crazy person for noticing this, but I was she's so bad. but I was just watching it. I was like, this is all so hollow or so false.
But it's so funny because that scene, because that's when they're in the hospital, right?
Yes. And Jenna Ortega completely outshines her, gets really angry.
When they kicked everybody else out of the room and they had that moment, I remember thinking, I was like, holy fuck, the fact that she has to sit there and play against Jenna Ortega, who is like laid up in a hospital bed and still like drills her into the ground. Like, destroying. She's just lying there and like absolutely destroys her. It's like that was unfortunate. But also I need to say, we did not mention this. This is our second movie in like 4 episodes with my girl Marley Shelton.
Yeah.
Who?
I know what you're saying.
Sheriff Judy Hicks. She was also in Planet Terror.
Oh.
Hello. Okay. Colton. Right. How dare you?
Sadly, she didn't give us the speech about what her little friends do, but
I know, like one of my favorite parts of Planet Terror. It's fine. I forgive you.
That is weird. This year I'm getting more Marley Shelton than I've ever gotten in my life, and
I'm gonna make you watch Sugar and Spice when you come to
make me watch it. I own it.
Well, we're gonna rewatch it.
In fact, I bought it like recently in the last year on DVD.
No, we have to make Colton watch it. That's what we have to do.
I was gonna say, I like to think that for my life I've been getting a lot of Marie Shelton, but I just literally don't know who it is.
You don't know who it is. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, no, she was fantastic. I will say, I did really enjoy. I brought it up for my favorite kill, but the scene, that whole hospital, hallway scene, I really liked the lighting on it. I thought it was the scariest Ghostface has ever looked. It was kind of just like all these grays, and they made sure all that gray lighting was like against the knife and kind of against the mask, and it like
the gray and blue and
shadowy, and I thought, to me, I was like, out of all the Scream movies, I'm like, this is the best Ghostface has looked.
I think you're right.
Yeah, like I thought they really, really nailed it. I was gonna say another thing I had written down was, this is still 2022. I feel that this is everything Bodies wished it could have done with like
I haven't seen it yet, so
no, I'm no spoil. I'm just saying with like Gen Z commentary.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Like
yeah.
I enjoyed it way much more in this, where I was, like I said, like I said it earlier on, like I could just feel the Gen Z rage in it, which is always funny when you think about it, because like all this stuff, like it's not written by Gen Zers.
No,
it's
written by
by
people
old
in their
people.
40s at least, yeah.
But yeah, like to me, it was just like, I was like, yeah, this is kind of the, I guess, the humor and just like the little quips and stuff about the older generations that I expected out of like Bodies, that I just think this really nailed, at least for me on the second watch. Cause like I said, for some reason I was just hyper focused on that with this watch, was I was like, oh, let me look at things like I didn't notice on the first one. And I was just really honing in on, like I said, like the brutality against everyone that was older, and just kind of, I say us because we're that age, like just hampering down on this like younger generation and just kind of this frustration. I want to know how disappointed you guys are that we didn't get a Scream 5 that featured Ghostface with a flamethrower machine, just fucking flamethrowering everywhere, like in the YouTube video they were watching for Stab 8 or whatever it was.
I have to say, one of the greatest disappointments of my entire life has been that the Stab movies aren't real. I need a slasher series that goes on for that long, other than Friday the 13th, because that's obviously one of the touchstones, but like, they haven't, because of all the lawsuits, they haven't fucking done anything with that in like 15 years, so since that awful fucking remake. But I yearn, and that's part of why I love this, and I hope they make like 5 more Scream movies, because I want Stab 8. I want a Stab 8. I want that fucking metallic armor masked flamethrower. I do. I want it. I want that divisive sequel that, like,
Scream 8, Ghostface in space,
is gonna send the fandom into an absolute fucking pandemonium.
Yeah, for me, it was just kind of like, this looks nothing like something Rian Johnson would do, which is apparently in the world who directed that. So I'm just a fucking film nerd, I guess. I was just like, Rian Johnson would never make this metallic faced flamethrowing wielding ghost face, right? It'd be a fucking whodunit inside of a house trying to figure out which one's the killer,
I wasn't even barely looking at it. I was looking at the videos on the side where it's like, Woodsboro attack survivor Kirby Reed. And I was like, oh my god, Hayden's coming back. Like, literally, I'm just like looking at the shit on the side. Like,
I was just laughing because I never noticed the first time I saw it that, like, in the clip they show Stab 8, that he's just wearing a sleeveless t-shirt with the Ghostface mask.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is fucking awesome. I was like, this is what all my killers in horror movies should look like.
Yeah, I really just, like, that's the kind of abandon that I want, not necessarily from Scream, but from some horror franchise. I want it to just go balls to the wall every 2 years, and just by the time it gets to 8, be this insane, like, absurd, you know what I mean? Like, just, like, what the fuck is this? Like a turn your brain inside out. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It's either genius or the stupidest thing you've ever seen. Like, this is what I want. I need a return to this. That's why I, like, watch this and go, I need the Stab movies. I want them. I want Stab 1 with Tori Spelling and Heather Graham. You know what I mean? Like,
give it to us. And I was going to say the only other real note I had on it was kind of, I guess, what Colton talked about earlier, where, unfortunately, apparently Colton had to deal with toxic Star Wars fandom or whatever.
I did. It was just discourse forever between me and my friend group. I shit you not. The morning after I watched Star Wars The Last Jedi, I had a 2.5-hour conversation with a couple of my friends over the phone where we were just talking about, like, what we liked and what we hated and just how it could be improved. And it's just literally that conversation for, like, another 3 years, until Episode 9 came out, which made Episode 8 look like a fucking masterpiece. Episode 9 was so bad. So it's just like, yeah, I dealt with that shit. It sucked. And people still complain about it online.
Yeah, and see, I guess as someone that, you know, I try to make sure I don't take part or participate on any of, like, the toxic online stuff and just, you know, shitty people that just have, like, shitty criticisms on, you know, what they think is, like, woke movies or, I don't know, whatever the fuck they talk about. See, I kind of really liked the commentary on this about that, just as someone that I'm like, fuck all those guys. And then I was just like, yeah, these guys are fucking nuts.
It's just so specific is the thing. Like, and once again, I'm going to get fucking Star Wars nerd here, but Mary Sue was a term that existed before Episode 7, but that is when it was popularized for everyone to call Rey in the movies a Mary Sue, right? That she's knows everything.
I mean, there is a whole blog called The Mary Sue.
Yeah, exactly. They mention all the woke stuff because in Episode 8, they bring in an Asian character as a love interest for the only, like,
I did see that. I did see that, yeah.
So they mentioned that as an aspect of it. They specifically mentioned that Rian Johnson, the director of Knives Out, came to direct this really shitty 8th iteration of a franchise. And then, like, literally about a minute later, they talk about how Star Wars 7 was a requel, and I think they say it was bad or something. So I'm just like, they are literally talking about
Star
that
Wars?
discourse.
I don't know. Maybe when I hear the word Star Wars, my head literally just blank it out.
I have a note. I have a note. Okay, who directed Star Wars 8 in this universe where Star Wars Episode 7 is mentioned as a requel? Because literally Episode 8 is directed by Rian Johnson, which is what they're commenting on with Stab 8, right? It's just the notes of discourse they are picking are literally like the popularized toxic discourse that was going around with that movie for fucking years. And I don't like that movie very much, but I wasn't in with those people. But you get lumped in with those people when you just dislike a movie, right? It's just, it sucks.
Me and Mike know you're lying. Colton, like, has some alternate account. He just goes on message boards and he writes, like, go woke, go broke on everything. And
oh no, don't pull up my Wendell and Wild review or whatever.
Hang on now, we're about to comb through your letterbox here and search for clues.
It wasn't that bad, but I did mention some political commentary in that. I think that's what Rowan texted me. Go woke, go broke. Fuck's sakes.
So, is there anything else we want to talk about this? Are we comfortable landing the plane?
I want to mention that Samantha Carpenter is a terrible name. It's just so groan-worthy. I hated it. And it's really,
very obviously a tribute to John Carpenter, too.
Of course, yeah. And it's just like anybody who's watching this movie with like a knowledge of Scream knows the reference, and they're just going to groan as well. And I found it really funny when we cut to Sam and Richie, and they're like sitting in the parking lot. It's like kind of like you're establishing these characters, and there's a DJ Khaled song playing in the background, and it kind of cuts them, and he goes, "Another one," and I just burst out laughing. I was just like, who decided it was like good to cut on the beat the DJ Khaled saying another one and like cutting to like these characters? I was just
that was a choice.
I was more appalled by, I was like, who would allow a DJ Khaled song that samples the beat to a far superior song from like, I remember when I first saw this, I was like, oh shit, are we starting the movie pretty much off with Outcast, Sorry Miss Jackson? And I was like pumped. And then
I literally thought that too the first time I saw it.
And then I was like, no, it's just like some shitty DJ Khaled
for a split second you're like,
song.
Oh.
Yeah, I was like,
listen, keep SZA's fucking name out of your filthy mouth, bitch.
Whatever.
I will come through this fucking screen for you.
So we will land the plane and get to rating it. If you are new to the show, our rating system is nay, okay, yay, or slay. Mike, what is your rating?
I may be in the minority here, and I don't care. I'm slaying it because I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I actually cried a little bit the first time I saw it. Maybe it was the wine. Who knows? Could be anyone's guess. But I totally understand all of Colton's critiques of it. Kind of doing what it's critiquing, but I also kind of loved that about it. And I don't know, it was just to me the whole all the callbacks and mirrors of the first movie I thought were kind of fun, but also again I really really enjoyed it because of the characters and the cast. Obvious exceptions being Sam and Melissa Barrera. Obviously I'm not we know she's a dud, she's a black hole through which everything else threatens to get pulled into. But everybody else in it was so I loved all the characters so much. I love obviously the legacy characters, and I love that they brought back Marley Shelton's character, even though they immediately brutally viciously murdered her. But I got choked up with that too. I felt that, that tingle in the back of my throat, I'm about to start crying. But I loved all the new characters, even the ones that were kind of vapid, like Liv. I thought they were really fun, and to me, I love a Scream movie because of the characters, not just the plot, and it totally slayed. And also, I have to say, of all my favorite Scream killers in this franchise, the number one to me was always Debbie Salt from number 2, played by the queen of everything, Laurie Metcalf. But now she has a king in Amber, because I think Amber is also my favorite character in terms of killers. So I have my Amber and Debbie Salt shrine set up now in Screamland in my head. I just loved her so much. I thought she was so fun, and I thought that Mikey Madison is so great, and I'm obsessed with her now. So yeah, slay, slay, slay. Sorry, sorry, not sorry. Colton, let's throw her over to you.
Yeah, so I don't hate this movie or anything. I've obviously already went over a lot of my qualms with it. I think the movie thinks it's more clever than it actually is, with a lot of its critiques and commentary that it literally falls into the same pitfalls of the thing it's criticizing, especially with the conversations on elevated horror and whatnot. This movie is trying to elevate the slasher genre to some degree, through the very slick cinematography, the way it looks. This looks like a very expensive slasher movie, and there is a point in this movie where it does kind of just slow down for a half hour, where there is no kills really, and they are just talking about the characters and what's going on, which is exactly what it's criticizing that elevated horror movies do in those opening scenes. So I like a lot of it. I think the cast is really good, obviously, other than Melissa Barrera.
Clearly this is a Melissa Barrera hate podcast.
Honestly, when I was watching it this time, it was just so distracting, her performance, that I literally couldn't enjoy this movie at all as I was watching it. I'm not going to give it a negative review, but what I'm saying is if she was recast with almost anybody else who is at least okay, this would be a yay for me, but I have to give it an okay just literally because she's the main character. It's just
she's
really
so distracting. Yeah,
I wish Jenna Ortega was the main character. If she was, this movie would be a yay. It's just
and the fact that she has so many scenes with Jenna is tragic.
It's very tragic. I think the few issues I have with the movie aren't enough to put it to an okay, but it's just, I just didn't enjoy watching it this time. Maybe in a couple of years when I rewatch it when the new one's coming out with some distance, maybe it'll be a little bit better. But yeah, I'm going to give it an okay for now. I prefer the Babadook, just like Jenna Ortega at the end of the movie. What about you, Rowan?
Yeah, so I'm gonna give it a strong yay. I actually really liked it. I probably enjoyed it more this second watch than I did the first one. I thought it was fun. I laughed. I thought the commentary was, even though some of it was a little groanish, it was still, it made me chuckle. And like we keep saying, other than Samantha's character being a dud, I liked everyone else, just like Mike. I thought Amber was an awesome villain. I really, really did enjoy her. And, you know, I said when we reviewed the first Scream, like, obviously, you know, Skeet Ulrich is my daddy, but you know, I think she, you know, she deserves to be in that pantheon of great Scream killers.
She's mommy.
Yeah, she's mommy.
You gotta have a mommy too, right?
But yeah, I
had a like 21-year-old mommy.
I had a lot of fun with it. I liked how kind of visceral and a little more brutal this was compared to the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
More my style of horror. So I really liked it. Other than DJ Khaled, like, I thought some of the music was all right. One thing we didn't bring up in the review, I really like the credit sequence where it's totally cheesy 90s.
Yeah.
And it's just like pictures of them and their names. And I was just like, man, this is so cheesy looking and awesome. But yeah, I thought a strong A for me. Like, this is one I'll definitely rewatch with people and probably by myself. And I think this is a good one after you see it for the first time too. Like, I can see me putting this on just as kind of background noise.
Yeah.
And you know, I know everything that's gonna happen. So yeah, no.
I used to do that when I was like a youngster with all my Scream VHSs. I'd like, you know, be studying for school or whatever, and I'd just like, you know, push Scream 2 in the VCR and just have it on and have the volume turned down and just like kind of keep looking and going, oh look, there's like Sydney in the car and, you know, trying to get away from Ghostface after it crashes and
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think I think we were all kind of all over the place on it, but we didn't hate it. So, you know, Holly never told us what she thought of it. So Holly, you should tell us what you think of it. So
yeah, she might be an A. Maybe she just was trying to torture us. Who knows?
Yeah, she's like, what? These guys like this movie? What is going on?
Listen, sometimes I love making a pick that I know everybody, including me, is going to hate, so... But I loved it, so I'm not saying that, Holly. If you loved it, so did I.
And so, if you love it, then I'm sorry. I apologize. Please keep supporting the Patreon. Eventually, there'll be something there.
So we told you what we thought of the movie, and we wanted to hear what you thought of the movie. So we got a couple responses in. We got more responses than Mirror Mirror, sadly. So you know, if anyone was wondering, apparently Scream is a bigger movie than Mirror Mirror. So
wow.
So the first one, I'm going to go to Facebook. The story of this is before we started recording, I was like, someone send their opinions on Facebook. I can't figure out how to fucking get to it, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I figured out how to get to it. So I did get to it. So Veronica Lamb wrote us, and she said, honestly didn't mind it. Considering it isn't Wes, I didn't have incredibly high hopes for it, but I was pleasantly surprised. And then all our other responses came to us via Instagram. So Epic Film Guys wrote and just said, loved it. So big fans. Spooky.
Yeah, I think they had some like marketing and whatnot around that movie as well, if I remember correctly. Like, I think they were maybe at a premiere. They had some interview stuff. I seem to remember that. And if I'm wrong, then I apologize.
So Epic Film Guys are part of Big Scream. They're
they're biased. You know, don't follow their takes. I'm kidding.
And then we got a response from Spooky Hag, who I'm not going to click over the screen, but I'm pretty sure this is the same Spooky Hag that won our Oktoberfest giveaway last year.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
They said, I preferred Scream 4 much more. This one didn't have any characters I was invested in.
Wow, okay. Someone who didn't like the cast, I guess.
Yeah, jeez.
But I do like the love for Scream 4 because Scream 4 is so good. It's, I want to say underrated because I still feel like people don't quite give it its due, but that's fine. It's getting there. It's been, you know, climbing its way up the ranks, I think.
It's so good that Mike ranked it third or fourth out of 5 movies.
Did not. I said third. Anyway, no, I bumped it up to second. And then third was number 2 in this one. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Don't kill me. I'm sorry.
I will make no promises.
Then the Whitney Enigma wrote and said, "It's aight." So yeah.
I love their name.
We're on the same page.
On the same page.
Yeah.
And then the last one they wrote was Spooky Sisters Inc. And they said sacrilege, blasphemous, offensive, stupid, bad, why?
Whoa. All right. Now that sounds like a nay.
Yeah, that's ooh.
Let me go pour up another drink.
Those were my notes for Melissa Barrera's performance, actually.
Yeah, wow. we were just asking your opinions on the movie, not on that specific performance. But
oh shit,
yeah. Oof. But it's not for everyone, I don't think, and it's hard. Like we said, I mean, the big thing is, Scream is so iconic that whenever you're doing a requel or a sequel or anything, like, you're bound to
it's a minefield. No matter how good it is, it's always a minefield.
So I think up next, I think we're gonna do something we haven't done in a long time.
It has been, I feel like, a year, and this feature hasn't even been out for a year, but we actually got a voicemail on the Horrific Hotline. Well, it wasn't the hotline, but it was sent to us through Instagram. So we're going to play that.
We accept it, Nicholas, just because it's you.
No. So yeah, Rowan is going to have to figure out how to edit all these, Instagram recordings together to make it sound great. But I can't wait to see what he had to say.
Hi, this is Nicholas for the first time with a voice message about the new Scream or Scream 5. Which I really liked. It's definitely a yay for me. Not so sure if I'd give it a slay, but I enjoyed it as I did any Scream movie, though the first one remains the masterpiece in the franchise. So yeah, I enjoyed the new cast and the very tense build-up to some of the surprisingly violent kills in the movie. And also some of the lighthearted and funny lines, especially the conversation about the requels or legacy sequels, and Dewey's line about maybe you're the killer, because that cut deep. Some great lines in there. Also concerning Dewey, it might be a bit controversial, but I like where the movie went with his character. It gave the movie some emotional punch. The other sequels didn't really have, or at least after the cinema scene in the second one, the opening, didn't really have for me. And finally, the one thing I didn't like about the movie is the subplot about Billy Loomis's daughter hallucinating him and seeing him. It's just not my cup of tea, especially at the end when he kind of proudly nods towards his daughter when she after she killed one of the killers in a very violent scene. I don't know, it didn't really work for me, but maybe they pick up on that in the next sequel. They could do something. For me, the franchise is in safe hands for now, and let's see what happens with Scream 6, I think.
Right on, Nicholas.
Totally.
That was killer.
I totally.
Well done, dude.
Yeah, that was a brilliant.
No
analysis. No notes. 10 out of 10.
Showing no love. For
I was gonna say, it
Dad.
seems like he was a big fan of the one scene that kind of like irked me the wrong way. So I'd be curious to see if Nicholas has too many opinions about those the Star Wars discourse around that time. But no, I mean, I'm glad he enjoyed it. That was a great voicemail. Thanks for calling in.
The Billy Loomis scene, that's all I thought about. Is I was like, oh, this has got to be a subtle nod to Bill Cosby and Ghost Dad.
Oh my God. We are not going to talk about Bill Cosby.
Yeah, let's maybe steer clear of the Bill Cosby discussion.
Please, not that.
I am interested in what he was talking about, because I did think about that with this watch. I was like, that would be a really odd twist to kind of continue this, like, her kind of talking to her dad, like, it would add this like weird, almost like paranormal side that we've never seen in a Scream.
I'm gonna say I have two thoughts, and this is not spoilery because obviously the movie only just finished filming like 2 weeks ago. I remember Colton said maybe she'll be the opening kill in the next movie, and I kind of hope, because that's the thing, like you always got to have like a really punchy, dramatic opening kill, right? Like that's the Scream formula, and it was at the time the whole teen, slasher movie formula. So my hope is that they hopefully kill her at the beginning, or make her the killer and then maybe somehow work her not being able to act into the plot somehow. I don't know, like
I think what they need to do,
maybe they kill her before she can like explain herself, you know what I mean? Like she won't have the whole scene like I loved with Amber in this one. They'll just like, shoot her through the ghost face mask and then pull the mask off like a la Scooby-Doo, and it's like, oh my god, it's Sam, you know what I mean? And it's like, oh well, I guess she was evil. Roll credits.
I think what they need to do is have the Skeet Ulrich ghost show up and kind of nod to like a sharp incline, like a cliff.
Oh,
and then the character just stumbles
Oh.
and she's just out of the movie. I think that's what we need. That's what we need. And then when she's falling, just smash the credits because she's screaming, from the fall. That's how I would do it. That's great.
Will we get like a Star Wars ending where they're all ghosts like standing beside each other and
Jenna Ortega at the end of the next one, it's Skeet Ulrich and her sister because she died in the beginning of the movie, nodding towards a knife or a gun or something. Oh my.
I don't get it. As a non-Star Wars person, I don't get it. But I'm sure it's funny.
Just imagine it's funny.
Come on, I'm trying to plug the voicemail, guys. Come on. I'm trying to say if you want to be like Nicholas and leave us a great voicemail, you can do so by calling 1-902-418-8620. I think where Nicholas is in Germany, I think there might be a different area code to get out of Germany. So maybe fool around with it, Nicholas, 902-418-8620. If not, you can keep sending them via Instagram or email or however you get them to us. That's
please.
Fine by us.
That was wonderful. Like, please, just if you're lonely in the middle of the night, send us a message. Please. It doesn't even have to be about a movie.
And
just tell us your deep dark secrets.
Yes, I mean, and you can do that on any of our social medias. You can reach out to us at It Slays Podcast and send us messages in the middle of the night about I guess anything, as Mike said. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Slasher, Letterboxd. Basically, if there's a social media, we're on there at It Slays Podcast. And Rowan, where can the people listen to some cool horror tunes?
So you can go to Spotify and look up It Slays Podcast's horrific playlist. Or you can go to any of the social medias. We have a link tree, and there's a link right in there to get to it. And we upload music from movies we review or iconic horror music also. And yeah, get a listening, guys, because as we said, this is the kickoff. It's Oktoberfest. It's October. It's Halloween time. It's spooky season time. So all that you should be listening to is just the spookiest music around. And then I figured I'll do just a little plug here to let you guys know that next episode we will be announcing our Oktoberfest giveaway. I'm not going to say what we're giving away yet, but we've got a whole bunch of goodies, and you'll see all the stuff, through the social media and what you got to do to enter to win it. Be like Spooky Hag and win yourself. She won. I had to send like a whole box to her. It was a very pricey box full of goodies. So you definitely want to get in on it. And like I said, we'll be announcing those details. I don't know if it'll be after this episode comes out or a little before, but there'll be stuff on social media. And then on the next episode, we'll get into it more and let you know what you got to do. And we'll announce a winner on the Halloween episode, which will come out on Halloween. Yeah, so I think all that's left is to announce our next episode for Oktoberfest, and this was a Colton pick.
Yeah, so for my next pick, to kind of kick off Oktoberfest, or I guess it didn't actually kick it off, but, we're going to be recording this one in October. I chose Trick or Treat, which I'm a big fan of anthology horror movies, and Trick or Treat is definitely one of those. I would say one of the better ones. And I can't wait to give it a watch, and we can discuss it.
I can't believe we haven't done this one before.
Listen, Ro, it's good to not have everything good done so that we have it like in our pockets for later down the road, like right now.
Yeah, we got to space Mike's.
You don't want
picks
to listen.
out.
As one of my good friends once said, you don't want to blow your load too soon.
Exactly.
So thank you, Colton, for bringing that load several years.
I thought you were going to say thank you, Colton, for your quote of not blowing your load too soon.
Oh no, that
bro,
wasn't you.
I don't think that. I don't attribute that to me. I don't think that was me.
That was my friend, other Mike. Anyway.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, we'll be back, and I'm not sure. I've heard rumblings that Jill wants to try to make a spot on there, or at least do some foreign corresponding. Just so
I think I'm gonna veto that one. I don't think she's allowed on the episode.
Yeah, perfect. Let's tell her.
No Jill's allowed.
Colton will send that message loud and clear.
I'm just stirring up some drama. It's all good.
That's right.
Jill's welcome whenever she wants to come back.
But we'll see. We'll be back. We're in October, guys. Well, we're not actually in October right now. When you hear this, you will be in October. It's a real Back to the Future type situation right now. So hopefully, enjoy the season, guys. Thank you for all the support. As always, I am Rowan.
It's Mike. Bye.
And I'm Colton.
See you later.
We're going to expand our weekly video segment to take you into the back shelves of your local video store. Back where it says horror videos, and where kids are devouring some awful films that we call the video nasties.
Are you freebasing? Inquiring minds want to know.
I have to break free from this culture of mechanical reproductions and the thick incrustations dying on the surface.
But the prime time gets.
Monmouth and a Fletch.
The pain, I can assure you, will be exquisite. As for our deaths, come with me and be immortal.
We have such sights to show you.
We've got to return some videotape.